everyone, it's Emma at the Vlog Lady, and today I'm going to be watching David Lynch's Wild at Heart. It's a movie that I have seen many times before, but I haven't seen it for many years. It was a movie that I loved when I was a teenager. In fact, it was one of my favourites. I just thought it was so cool, so hip, so weird, exciting, sexy. The reason I haven't seen it in many years is probably because Lynch brought out more movies that I prefer to this one and that have stayed with me for longer than this one. Wild at Heart seems like it's something that's connected to my teenage years, and in terms of David Lynch's filmmaking career, I would say it was part of his adolescence as well. The movie was released in 1990 and it was based on a novel by Barry Gifford. Okay, so as you may know, the movie stars Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage, Diane Ladd, William Dafoe and more. Talking about the cast, I think that Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage have really great chemistry in this, and I think they work perfectly for the parts. Whilst I do like the two main actors, Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage, I do think that they are the kind of actors that tend to overplay things, but in this movie that's called for, so it really works. In regards to Laura Dern, yes, she is a favourite actress of David Lynch. I don't know their personal relationship, but she's been in like Blue Velvet, Inland Empire, and she is going to be in the new Twin Peaks. I mean, lots of directors use the same actors over and over again, and that's fair enough, but I do think that this doesn't always work. I don't know, there are some behind the scenes footage of Inland Empire. The relationship between David Lynch and Laura Dern, it's very close, almost as if she is beyond being directed because of their close friendship, if that makes any sense. I mean, I have no idea, but, you know, this is just my chair, if it creaks one more time. So I don't know how much that affects actresses or an actor's performance when they are so friendly with the director. But as I say, I really loved this movie when I was younger and I couldn't see any faults with it. It was one of many movies that I watched at the time which were, you know, messed up, and that I watched in the middle of the night when nobody else was up. Nicolas Cage, his particular acting style, I know he has been criticised for being a bad actor sometimes in various movies like The Wicker Man and, well, quite a few actually, but I think that his style works well in this because of the character he's supposed to be and the energy of the whole thing. It really works well for him. I feel like I've seen this movie replayed a million times since I saw this for the first time. I think other directors have modelled some of the aspects of this story in their own works. Whoa. Nicolas Cage looks really young in this, and Laura Dern, she looks like she's like at that age. I don't know how old she was in this, but she seems to be looking very attractive. Flex the nails, bitch.
This here jacket represents some of my individuality and my belief in personal freedom.
50,000 times. So from the outset there is extreme violence and sexual content. So I do think you can tell who these people are straight away. Their characters, their nature, their backgrounds. And I think that they come across as being white trash, basically. Their behaviours, their rebelliousness, their freedom, I think it does speak to like a teenage audience. So Sailor and Lula are in a world of their own. They kind of have their own language. It seems like they exist outside of normal society, I feel. Okay, so right now they're kind of just on the road, and it seems like they'll be on the road forever, just, you know, screwing and having fun and dancing and messing about, basically. That's what it feels like. And by the way, this soundtrack, I've just had to pause it because there's some music playing and I wanted to say something, but the soundtrack for this movie is very hip and very lively, and it sustains that extreme energy throughout, and it also feels very American as well. Okay, so I don't know this, but does Nicolas Cage really have like an Elvis obsession? I've heard that, but I don't know if it's true. Okay, so okay, Diane Ladd is really a good actress in this. Her performance, I think, feels very real, and it's very captivating as well. Okay, this scene with Cheryl and Fenn in the car crash, unforgettable, because it's quite disgusting and hideous and true to life. Very distressing scene. So it's just one strange character after the next in this movie, and they are all portrayed by people who are a little bit, well, not everybody, but a lot of the cast, I think, have a reputation for doing roles that are a little far out. So I don't know if some of the characters that appear in this movie who don't have significant roles are just like representations of the American culture. The cowboys, the obese women. Vince Pruitt-Taylor, I think his name is. He's a great character actor. I like William Dafoe. He's in one of my favorite movies, actually, a B-list crime thriller called White Sands. Why I like that movie, I don't know, but I find it really engaging. I'm sort of losing the plot now, but yeah, check that out. Yeah, there's a good mix of different styles in the soundtrack as well, from jazz to orchestral to modern pop, you know.
Hey man, same fucking thing happened to me last year.
It's almost like, take a look at this disgusting gore, because isn't it grotesque? Isn't it hilariously grotesque? So at the end here, Lula is just the same person she always was, I think, except now she has a kid in tow. Okay, so Sailor sings this Elvis love ballad to Lula at the end, and even that is like, the whole thing is like a modern day fairy tale. Okay, so I just finished Wild at Heart, and I can definitely see why I liked this when I was like 18. I mean, the whole story does feel quite juvenile. I'm watching it now. I definitely feel that this is still a movie that is best viewed by teenagers, and like me, you might grow out of the movie. I still enjoy it, but in a different way entirely, because, you know, when I first discovered this movie, it was like a revelation of cinema. I'd never seen anything quite like it. In regards to comparing it to David Lynch's other movies, it does feel like this one has box office appeal, whereas some of the others are quite on a level of surrealism that it stops the film getting the audience that it deserves. This movie is full of perverse things and gruesomeness and, you know, sex and violence and blood and gore, and people with quirks, character quirks, which aren't necessarily attractive, but which are curious and silly and easy to laugh at. And I think that Sailor's violence, tendency to be violent, it actually makes him an attractive character, because it makes him seem like a passionate figure, like, you know, like all these outlaws like Jesse James and Billy the Kid and John Dillinger. I just trying to think of cool people, you know, that that are dangerous, and there is that very interesting aspect about them. That Lula and Sailor are kind of like Elvis and Marilyn sort of thing. They are also representative of a culture as well, and an era. And I don't think that era that they represent has actually passed yet. So I think this film and the representations of that are still relevant today. Like I said before, I think that I feel like I've seen this road movie with a pairing like this many times since, and I've also seen the kind of violence that is depicted in this movie many times since. I honestly think, and I don't know, but Quentin Tarantino movies seem to have this vibe, that exists in Wild at Heart. It's also very similar to that movie True Romance with Patricia Arquette and Christian Slater. That almost feels like a slightly straighter copy of this without all of the excessive weirdness. I was a kid at the time when this was released, but I can't imagine what the reaction to it must have been, because it's so different from anything that was being made at the time, I believe. It is very distinctive in tone and style. As we say now, it is very Lynchian. I like the ending. Apparently David Lynch changed the ending because Sayla decided to leave at the end instead of reunite with Lula, and he said it was depressing, and I can't see any other ending but them being together. I think that the ending is logical. In regards to the Wizard of Oz stuff, it's kind of weird because, you know, certain aspects from the Wizard of Oz are integrated into the story, so that would make Lula Dorothy. The original Dorothy was pretty innocent and pretty naive and kind and sweet and childlike, and Lula doesn't come across as being an educated character to me. The Wizard of Oz stuff is interesting because I feel like it's a statement about who we are now as a society, as a people, and that is if Lula represents Dorothy, then the characteristics of femininity have been changed dramatically, and also the kind of hero that Sayla is. He's not just a rebel, he's a criminal, he's dangerous, he's crazy, he's obsessed, and he sort of has this superficial desire to be a deep thinker or spiritual in nature. You might pick that up from sort of the reference to his jacket when he says, you know, that's what represents who he is. But yeah, it's a damning comment, I feel, on who we are as a society now. If this is our fairy tale, and if that's as good as it gets. So that's it really. I don't know what else to say about this movie, but except for the fact that I just found it really engaging as a young person. I think its main appeal will be to people of young age, up to, you know, up to I don't know what age group. I'd say late teens is probably who might best be influenced by that movie. But I think as a Lynch fan, you can obviously enjoy that movie as an older person, but its real raw influence is probably on a younger audience than myself. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching this video. Subscribe to my channel, The Vlog Lady, if you like David Lynch, Twin Peaks, cult TV, cult films, etc. And you can also leave a comment below to tell me what you thought about Wild at Heart if you've seen it. And that's it. Goodbye.